Guy Howdy, and welcome back to another episode of World Bigfoot
Show,
Radio.
everybody, and it's time for our annual check-in with Kelly Shaw at Rocky Mountain Sasquatch to get all the updates on what those amazing folks and Kelly have been doing for the last year. Before that, don't forget to hit that like button, share, subscribe. Make sure you're subscribed. You could be unsubscribed. Check, make sure you're subscribed, and then leave comments. Leave comments. Leave thumbs up. We're going to have a little poll at the end of the show, and it will require you to actually interact with the comment section below if you want to be involved in it. And we're going to kind of throw it out this year to you guys to help us decide who gets Field Researcher of the Year. So your input will be needful on this one. And meanwhile, we're going to get back to what we're at hand with right now, which is, again, having the amazing, fantastical Kelly Shaw with us on the show. The man who's got the boots on the ground, the butt in the field, 24/7. If a Bigfoot sighting near him happens, he's like there as fast as he can get there, checking into it. And you will see, I'm showing right now, is Kelly Shaw's new logo, which was a project that one of my friends, Daniel Becker at Cryptid Wilderness Research Team, did for him. And this is available. There is a swag store for this. So if you want your brand spanking new, awesome logo, Rocky Mountain Sasquatch Organization merch, there will be a link in the description where you can hit on it, go get it, wear it proudly, let everybody know, hey, I watched that one channel that actually does field research and actually gets evidence in addition to sharing all the coolest stuff everybody else has got. And speaking of which, big milestone here, Kelly went over 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, and he has the evidence to prove it. He was out in the field tracking the YouTube subscriber plate, and he captured one. And you can even see there it says Rocky Mountain Sasquatch on it for getting over 100,000 subs. Congratulations, Kelly. It's great to see somebody with a channel like yours actually reach a milestone like that. There's very, very few out there that are actually doing any kind of field research that have that many subs. So, again, congratulations. Awesome.
Yeah, even 4 or 5 years ago, I just had no inclination that would get to 100,000. I just didn't think that there was that many enthusiasts into the subject that would subscribe to the channel. So it's just wonderful. And I thank every single one of you subscribers, enthusiasts, for subscribing and watching our videos. We love to visit Bigfoot sighting locations, Bigfoot sighting cluster locations that I like to call hot spots. Duke's been calling them cluster locations.
Yep. The other thing I should bring up right now, we're on the subject of logos and stuff. The same wonderful person, Daniel Becker, did a logo for me. That's the newest swag on my swag store. Link in the description below. So you can get swag from either one of us. And this all ties into Cryptid Wilderness Research Team, which are creating a continent-wide network of actual field researchers unconnected to other organizations, shall we say. So when you send Kelly a report and you go, well, I got a report from Alaska, I'll send it to Kelly, and Kelly will, get a hold of you and ask if he can use it, and he'll make stuff out of it and stuff, but he's way the hell south of Alaska. He's not going to be around Alaska to actually do a field investigation on it. But now that he's connected up to this network, he can pass it along to the guys up in Alaska and go, hey, I just got a hot report from yesterday. The guy sent me track pictures in the snow. Here's where it's at. I got permission to send you guys over there, So it's now become possible when you pass along data sets or information or sightings or whatever from other parts of the country outside the Rocky Mountains that, although Kelly can't get there, he may have access to a team that's nearby that can get there and help you. And if you want somebody to get boots on the ground over there and take a look at it, what's actually happening, it's now become an open possibility. So even more reason to share your encounters, sightings, pictures, and whatnot with Kelly, especially if they're recent. We may be able to get a team over there like right away to look into it.
I feel it's really important to document Bigfoot sightings, videos, photos, the evidence. So I document those on my blog, and then when I get a chance, I like to visit the location, especially if it's a cluster or a sighting hotspot. Love to go look around and see what's going on, see why the creature's there. Sighting cluster northwest of Bear Lake up in those mountains. I believe it's called Midnight Mountain up there in a 10-year span. Two guys and their hunting dogs got ran off by an aggressive Sasquatch, and then 10 years later, a guy got stuck in the snow and got harassed by a Sasquatch. So I go into these places and I'm like, to get the footage, to look around, to do the sighting report on location, but I want to see why the Bigfoot's there. There's got to be a reason if it's not just passing through food sources, water sources. Well, not too far from there is a freshwater spring, and the exact place these people have been run out there in this 1 acre area, there's all kinds of these elderberry bushes. And so maybe the Bigfoot's running people away from his food. I think Bigfoot's an omnivore, so it's probably there for the berries and the stuff that eats the berries too.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. Like I said previously, I know, researchers from all over the place that are observing what kind of stuff they're eating. And sometimes you can do it just by finding their scat and looking at that and figuring out what they were eating that's in that particular one. But they're really good at taking advantage of their environment, whatever is available at the moment. Berries are ripe over here. Oh, mushrooms are coming up over there. They're running around grabbing up all that stuff. And then during the winter, the further north you are, the longer the winter is, the more they have to revert to a carnivore diet. So it's really interesting watching that. And I think that may be one of the reasons why some of the ones further north are more aggressive, because they spend all their time hunting things. And, they maybe could decide that you should go in their freezer too. So the ones that live in areas that are more temperate spend more of their time grubbing for roots and getting different kinds of fruits and veggies out of the forest and surviving on that. Grass, bark, all kinds of weird things we can't eat. So I think Kelly's 100% on that one, and lots of other field researchers back them up.
Exactly. There's been only one time that I really this has got to be Bigfoot poop. Sasquatch Canyon, Brody and I casted some tracks, found a lot of trackways, was getting a lot of action that day, and we found some giant logs that looks like human poop, except for the logs were like twice as big as anything I'd ever passed, and the outsides of these were riddled with the seeds from rose hips, just caked with rose hips. And so it's the only time I've ever collected scat, because I thought it was Bigfoot and everything.
What time of year was that?
I'm thinking in recollection, I think it was the fall.
Interesting.
Uh-huh.
Because rose hips really high in vitamin C. Mm-hmm. So that's a good reason for them to be eating it right there.
I also noticed that the animals eat the rose hips last. When there's other berries to be had, the animals seem to eat those first. And berries, including rose hips, they last all winter long. Those are usually eaten last. And anyway, so it was riddled with that. We collected it, brought it home, and this was about 10 years ago that this happened. And at that point in time, I was under the understanding that dung gets contaminated really easy, because there's billions of bacteria in there that are just multiplying after the creature drops its excrement. And so it needs to be tested right away. Now, from what I understand, DNA technology has become so much sophisticated that they can separate that out. But yeah, I collected that in a bag, put it in a box, and kept it in the garage forever. And a few years ago, Jenny's like, "Can I talk you into throwing away your poop?" I'm tired of it being in the garage, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's time." We got it on video way back then. Just I'm used to seeing bear scat everywhere, and depending on what the bear's eating at that time, if it's eating grass, berries, or whatever, its excrement can look different in different types of situations. But I've never seen a bear make big old logs like a human, an extra large human. So I think that's what it possibly was. And that area, we've also come up on a black bear Jenny and I scared off, and it was a stinky black bear, and it left behind a fresh pile of poop after we scared it off. I was thinking that the stench we were smelling wasn't the animal itself, but it was the poop. And we got closer examining the poop, and there was like 5 different kinds of berries in there. There was choke cherries, huckleberries, Oregon grapes, wild raspberries, wild strawberries, just all that in it. So I got down and smelled it, thinking it was going to smell like the stench of what we just scared off that bear. And it smelled like a triple berry smoothie that you get from Orange Julius just after they get it out of the blender. I shit you not. So
leave it to a bear to smell worse than his own shit does.
So I realized that the stench we smelt was the actual body of the bear that left, because that particular poop it left behind was just smelled yummy. That's weird to say. I've never thought I would be saying that, poop smells like an Orange Julius, but it was. So yeah, I've come across all different kinds of scat, and that scat, I think the Bigfoot was eating a lot of those rose hips. It was at the end of the season when all the other berries were gone, and that's all that was left was rose hips.
So for a mimetic visual aid of what Kelly's talking about, look over his shoulder at the wall right now. See Bigfoot on the toilet back there?
Oh yeah.
Bigfoot does not have a toilet. Sometimes you can find it on the ground. We kind of believe that a lot of the times that they just go to a pond, like a lake or a river or something, and just take a dump in there if they're near it, because then there's no evidence. It just washes it away. So anyway, I know you're all delighted with the subject of Bigfoot scat, but we're going to have to move on now. And let's get some updates on what you've been up to all year, buddy. What happened in the spring?
Well, I want to talk with what's most fresh on my mind, kind of how we ended the season. One of the first big snowfalls. It was actually the opening day of the deer hunt. It snowed the night before, and Jenny and I like to go up and look for Bigfoot tracks after a fresh snowstorm, because if we're finding them, we know they're in the area and might be able to, track them down, follow the tracks to the subject. Well, I had to go by myself. She wasn't able to go that day, but opening hunt, I put on my deer orange hat and I head up there, and I just went up to a spot, looked around all the way to the spot, and it's one of those clusters places, Bigfoot sighting hotspot, over a dozen Bigfoot sightings on top of the Wasatch Mountains, Monte Cristo, McKinnon feet up at 9,000 feet. And I've had game cameras up in that area for probably, 8 to 10 years. Well, I went to Hellcat Spring. It was muddy, but the ground was kind of frozen. So frozen mud and snow and ice. And I pull off to the road, onto the edge of the road and everything, and get out and start getting all my gear ready to go service these cameras. And about 25 feet from my vehicle, I'm like, that's a Bigfoot track in the snow. And I go over and I start recording it and taking pictures of it. And there was tracks leading up to it and tracks going beyond it. And the tracks were going in the direction I needed to go anyway. I threw a tape measure on it, recorded it and everything. And I'm like, God, this is great. I mean, that's never happened for me. I get out of my vehicle and 25 feet away, a Bigfoot had walked. And I know it was recent because it had snowed that night and that morning. So
would have buried it.
Was just right there.
Well, I bet you were thinking in the back of your mind, God, I hope he walked in front of that game camera. He's going the right direction.
Right.
I come up here to service some cameras that I haven't serviced in about 15 months, and one of the reasons I did is because it just snowed yesterday, and I thought, hey, there's any Bigfoot up there, I should find Bigfoot activity. Not saying this belongs to a Bigfoot, but it's certainly Bigfoot shaped. Yes, this is definitely Bigfoot shaped. I measured it. It is over, well, it's right around 8 inches wide at the widest part up by the toes. And then it is about 15 inches in length. You know, 15 inches doesn't sound long, but with the width and everything, it's just gigantic. And the toes look real nice. Let me point some things out to you here. And I'm up here by myself. I don't have someone else to hold the camera while I point it out. So I'll do my best for you all. Even though there's still snow right here, you can see the edge of the foot comes along here. And then the toes, boom, 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 boom. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just amazing. Don't know exactly what point of the snowstorm it made this, but a good 6, 7 feet. And of course it could have stepped on rocks and stuff. There's another possible track where it may have stepped. And you know, it could have done this during the snowstorm, so some of it filled in what was walking. I have saw videos, the 3-mile trackway north of Minnesota, and they try not to leave tracks. They try to step on dry locations, logs, and all that.
What's crazy though is the Bigfoot tracks did end up disappearing. There was enough dry spots, this and that, and in my experience, they just don't like to leave tracks if they don't have to. And if you don't have to walk in the snow, why would you?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, even with my shoes on, I try to avoid walking in the snow and the mud and everything. Well, anyway, I kind of spaced off my tape measure that I'd left behind it, and I was back at my truck getting my gear ready and everything, and I hear a vehicle drive up. And they yell, "Hey, have you had any luck?" They thought I was up there deer hunting, and I look. I like to call them fish cops. There was a couple of fish cops, Department of National Resources and stuff, and they were up there checking on deer hunters. And they come up to me and asked if I was having any luck. They wanted to know if I had seen or harvested a deer. I told them I'm not deer hunting, and they both looked at each other and me in disbelief, probably thinking, why would he be up here on the mountain right after it snowed? I told them I was looking for Bigfoot. I figured because it snowed last night, it would be a good time to come up and see if any are in the area, because it would be easier to find their tracks. I then went on to let them know that there are over a dozen Bigfoot sightings reported around the mountaintop springs here, and I also know over a half a dozen people personally that have seen the creature in this area too. Then I went on to ask, have you guys seen or heard anything like that up here too? They both looked at each other uncomfortably and said no. I then said, well, you two are on duty and I doubt that you would say anything if you had anyway. I then said, hey, would you guys like to see a Bigfoot track? And they looked at each other and me in disbelief again. I said, really? There is one over there. I still have a tape measure next to it. I was finishing up documenting it when you two came up. They both said, yes, let's check it out. So we went over and I showed them the best one with the tape measure. They were both saying, that looks like a big human-like track. And then the biggest of the two said, you would think it would sink in deeper. And he began jumping up and down where he was standing, and he did not sink in at all. I then said, look, you aren't sinking in at all. That is because the ground is hard packed and frozen. Don't worry, I'm in denial too. I'm in denial every time I find something like this. However, we are in a Bigfoot reported hotspot, and so maybe there is something to that track that I'm documenting. They both went back to work to check on deer hunters on the mountain, and I went on to service the game cameras that I have in the area.
Now these mountaintop springs up here, covered in snow. I think this one dried up a little bit before it snowed, you know, at the end of fall or whatever. So weird, right at the beginning of the fight, finding a Bigfoot shaped looking track. My heck. What are the odds?
So they checked it out. Cool. And then they bailed, and I went and did my hike. But gosh, as soon as I got into the tree line, I started hearing vocalizations that sounded kind of Bigfooty, and some wood knocks and everything. And the first camera I went to go service, it was broke. I couldn't get the battery pack to eject, and the batteries were dead. So I just cut that game camera down to take home with me, since it was broke anyway, and made a mental note, I need to go back to the vehicle, get another camera and bring it out. And then making my way to the other camera, got some more wood knocks and stuff. Not saying it was Bigfoot making the vocalizations or the wood knocks, but I am in a Bigfoot sighting hotspot, and I just found fresh Bigfoot tracks. And Duke will show you the footage.
Yeah,
So
I lean pretty heavily toward that. Probably was what you were hearing, was a Bigfoot there, keeping an eye on you, making wood knocks and stuff.
Well, I've been doing this 8 to 10 years in the same area and stuff. And so if there happens to be Bigfoot in the area, they may know my little schedule, how I do everything. And they probably realize once I go to each camera location and I go to my vehicle, I'm out of there. Well, I go back to my vehicle to get the other camera. And as soon as I get to my vehicle, before I even open up the door, loud wood knock from where I just came. And it was kind of like a goodbye or a good riddance. I don't know what it meant, but I was kind of laughing to myself. Well, I'm coming right back. And I grabbed that other camera, and after I'd gone back and put that camera in the place of the broken one, I never did hear another vocalization or wood knock. They were probably like, what the hell's he doing now?
He came back again. What's going on?
So
That's
yeah, that was
part of the pattern.
Yeah, so that was at the end of the season, right after one of the first good snowfalls. And this is 9,000 feet elevation, and there's a seasonal gate, probably 30 miles down the mountain from there that they closed. They closed about 3 weeks later.
Yeah. I can't even tell you how many times I've experienced the same thing. When you walk into an area, you know there's Bigfoot in there, feeling eyes on you, they're following you around, and occasionally they make a little noise or a wood knock or something. But the majority of the times, as soon as you start walking out of their area, you'll hear a wood knock. And I think they're just signaling the rest of them, no, okay, they're clearing out now. Humans are going away. One time I was coming down the trail with Johnny, we were going up to an area, they had it blockaded. And finally, we just kind of like took the hint and went, they really don't want people up here. And as soon as we turned around and started going back, we heard a wood knock. And when we got halfway down the trail to where the vehicle was parked, we heard another wood knock. They were following us along the ridge line. Every so often, they just knock. Oh, they're down here.
Yeah, if they're using that as a communication tool, they may be saying, yeah, here they come, there they go.
Yeah.
Coast is clear.
Coast is clear. That's it. Yeah. Humans leaving, coast is clear. Oh, they're over here.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, again, this is the boots on the ground field researchers. If they spend enough time, they start noticing these patterns that, just some casual one-time observer would never pick up.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a really important data set, and that's why it's so important for the actual field researchers to kind of compare notes and share information with each other, because we're getting, the data sets are so similar. Kelly will tell me, hey, I got this report of blah, blah, blah. And I'll be like, oh, yeah, that happened over here. And he'll be like, I know that happened to me, too. It's like
it's fun exchanging information.
Yeah. And, it's for real, because we're getting, we're all kind of having the same weird experiences and stuff that are all peripheral to the same phenomena. So, yeah, that must have been funny, freaking out the fish cops and showing them an actual Bigfoot track. What was it? What was your next high point of the year?
Well, let's go back to the very beginning of the year, early spring. I got up in there as early as I could, because at the beginning of winter, a lady that posted to one of my groups, she posted a Bigfoot video in the Blue Mountains of Oregon, just barely south of the border of Washington. It's called Harris Park. Jenny and I set up our base camp on the Washington side of the border, up by where the Paul Freeman footage was filmed. And the very first full day that we were in the area, we went down and checked out the Harris Park footage. And I was just gunning to get in there because I thought it was great footage. I broke it down for the lady, did the zoom in, threw some light filters, stabilized, all that kind of good stuff. And within a few days of me doing those breakdowns, Cliff Barackman, he had spoke to her, and he traveled to where it happened with her and stood in the spot where she filmed it and everything. And you watch his podcast with her, and he thinks it was huge, just being there firsthand, knowing where it's at, and the type of phone that she was zooming in and filming it with. He just thinks it was huge. And I had already had that perspective doing the breakdowns and everything. And so we went and saw that firsthand. The trail was wiped out by the river. There had been some floods and everything, so we couldn't get very far, but we were actually able to get to the exact spot that she filmed, and then realized that if someone was trying to pull something hoaxy, they would have to cross a bunch of thorns to get into the river, cross the river, same thing, and then steep mountainside. And it's just like, well, if you were going to pull off a hoax, why would you even want to cross a river in the wintertime? Why wouldn't you just film it on this side of the river? So that gave a lot of credibility to the incident. And then Brockman thinks that she really filmed a Bigfoot too. And so we got in there, saw everything firsthand. And then the next day, we went to the Freeman location. I've been there a couple of times. We poked around Shoofly Creek and Duck Springs. They're not very far from each other. Paul Freeman says that he filmed the Bigfoot at Duck Springs. His buddies that he was camping with that were fishing the day that he got that footage, they said that he got it in Shoofly Creek, but they're only within a couple miles of each other. But I noticed that the Duck Springs, if you fly directly over the mountains, is only 17 miles from this Harris Park footage. And also the trailhead, which was covered in snow, the trail was covered up at the top. The top's 5,200 feet, 5,200 feet elevation. But down at Harris Park, it's 2,000. So it makes sense for the creature to be down there at the beginning of winter, escaping all the snow and everything where she filmed it. But the trail from there zigzags down to Harris Park, 37 miles. Even though it's 17 miles, if you follow the trail, it's about a 37-mile. But they're really interconnected. And then there's also the watershed that people aren't allowed to. I don't know what it is with Washington and Oregon, but they don't let anybody into the watershed area unless you work for the Park Service. And seeing
that's literally the nearby city's water supply. And a lot of cities are really like, yeah, you don't get to go screw around where we get our water from. Stay out of there.
Yeah, Bigfoot's got to love the area. And I've noticed that a lot of the sightings and filming locations are just outside of that watershed. So the Bigfoot over the years have probably learned that people don't come into that area. They probably feel a lot safer. And every once in a while, when they come out of the watershed area, they get spotted and filmed. Freeman filmed it, and then 17 miles away just last year, that lady filmed the footage. And some of the naysayers that watch that footage is like, the Bigfoot's not moving smoothly, blah, 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 and this and that. And it's like, well, it's not on a flat, dried up riverbed like Patty. That had the convenience of taking these long, brisk strides to escape a couple of cowboys on horseback. This one was heading up a steep mountainside, and doing all my zoom in breakdowns and everything, it looks like there's a particular time when it snatches something with its hand, and to me it looks like it's holding like a grouse upside down by the legs, so it was possibly hunting. And it's like, and people are like, oh, that's impossible for it to sneak up and snatch a grouse. Well, I've had many instances where I've come right up on a grouse that's, depending on its camouflage, holding still before it flies or takes off. And I had a couple of occasions where I could have just fallen on a grouse. I mean, I had a male grouse one year up at Lost Creek doing Bigfoot investigation, where it was like trying to scare me. I'm sitting there laughing because it's all puffed up and getting in my face and scratching the ground and getting all bad and stuff with me. And I could have just fallen on it and had a grouse dinner. So
perhaps not too coincidentally, the one time that Kelly got to go up here and go Bigfooting with me, I got bluff charged by a grouse. And yes, I got it on video.
And that was
Twice,
a mom
actually.
protecting its
yeah, she was protecting her little chicklets. Yep.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, a Bigfoot with a keen sense of smell, keen eyesight and stuff, sees a grouse bedding down, and it just, zigzags its way up to it and then snatch with its super quick, snatching abilities. Was filmed about 7 months ago in the Umatilla forest of the Blue Mountains near Harris Park, Oregon. During our investigation, we visited the location of the famous Paul Freeman Bigfoot video near Duck Springs and Shoofly Creek.
Oh, there he goes.
We discovered that a backpacking trail starting at about 5,300 feet elevation goes from Duck Springs and winds its way down over 37 miles to around 2,080 feet at Harris Park, where the most recent Bigfoot was captured on video several months ago. Both of these locations are separated by only 14 miles. During the Harris Park Bigfoot video investigation, we stood in the spot where Kelly and her daughter filmed the Bigfoot and were surprised at how far away the Bigfoot was from them, moving up the mountain methodically. The mountain is much steeper than we realized from her footage. Looking at the location firsthand, we realized that the creature was very large and robust. We also realized that if someone wanted to hike up to where the creature was filmed, they would have to cross the river and cross through large patches of thorny vines and bushes. Did not make sense for someone to cross that frozen river in November just to climb that mountain to catch a turkey by hand. Unless you were a wild animal, that is how you make your living.
What she saw.
Jenny and I are here about 6 months after the Umatilla, Oregon Bigfoot video was filmed, and we found the spot. It's pretty easy to find. Lady Kelly that filmed it, she gave us the location. I think I'm zoomed in at the exact spot that she filmed it, going up the mountain. It is 10 times steeper than I thought it was in the video.
And closer.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was far away, but it's not. You can see everything really good.
What we're going to do is we're going to hike around up here because obviously the Bigfoot still isn't sitting over there. But we want to check the area, see what kind of resources, see if we can find any evidence.
During our week-long investigation, we deployed several game cameras and captured several turkey, deer on them. We also filmed several wild turkey, deer, and elk. Perhaps the creature recently filmed is after the abundance of game in the area, or maybe it actually eats the same thing these game are interested in. Paul Freeman filmed the very large lumbering Bigfoot near the Duck Springs and Shoofly Creek area at around 5,300 feet elevation during the summer of 1994. This latest footage was filmed around 2,100 feet elevation during the late fall in November of 2023. It makes sense to me for these creatures to drop over 3,000 feet in elevation to get out of the deep snow, just as the local game does in a quest for survival. Less snow, better temperatures, and abundant food sources to help it survive the Blue Mountain. I can see that happen.
When it gets to the top of the rise, it's got a snack ready to go.
But anyway, I think that's why the Bigfoot was moving a little bit erratically until it snatched that grouse that she was filming. Plus, it was a steep, steep mountainside.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't, if you're going to set up a hoax, you're not going to wear a big, bulky Bigfoot suit climbing up some friggin' super steep mountainside where you could potentially fall and kill yourself just trying to film it. Which is, it was that dangerous.
between Cliff's show and my video and my blog post about her stuff, this gal wanted to stay anonymous. So she got nothing for it. She got no fame, no money, just was in the right place at the right time and caught the thing on her camera phone. She was there with her daughter. She said when she drove into the area, she had a really weird feeling that she was being watched and stuff like that.
God.
And then she spotted that going up the mountain. And she had one at the time. She had one of the best cell phone cameras on the market. But, this creature was probably close to 3/4 of a mile away. And she did zoom in on it with her phone. And I think she got amazing footage for what she had.
Better than I would have got with a phone at that distance. And I'm used to trying to film them, but I have an actual camera.
Early spring expeditions into the Blue Mountains of Oregon and Washington to investigate cluster sightings. And the icing on the cake is 2 of them were captured on video. Paul Freeman and then the Harris Park footage.
What did you hear?
It was a freaking knock right there.
That's where I heard it the last time. All right, well, let's head that direction, see if it'll do it again.
It's right back up in here.
Okay. Oh my gosh. It is close. Keep your eyes peeled. Did you bring your mace?
Still there. No.
I'm drawing mine. There it goes. It knocked again.
It's right there.
That's where I heard the vocalizations too. I don't want to miss it. There's snow fields that way. This is the way in. There's like a draw corridor right there. Whatever it is back in that draw. It's like a slot canyon.
Yeah, it is a slot canyon.
Let's go see if we can find any tracks near the mouth of it. There's 2 knocks that time.
Yeah. Oh, what's doing that? Is it a rock clack?
It happened from a different direction this time. Watch for Bigfoot tracks. We're kind of in a soft spot. That was so close, it was scary. The vocalizations were further off, but the knocks were close. Instead of going away, we go toward... Am I the only one armed?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Look how thick this stuff is. It's thick now. Can just imagine later on when everything starts getting its leaves and the branches start coming on. You need a machete to get through that stuff over there, Jenny.
Is the rock clock again? Below us now. Don't leave you.
I'm not leaving you. I wouldn't leave you. We come to this real narrow section and we need a machete to get through all of that. And once we stopped here, the knocking stopped and we haven't heard the vocalizations in a little while. So we're gonna start searching around all these little patches of snow where the ground's soft and looking at the snow and see if we can find any Bigfoot tracks, see if we can find the reason for the knocks and the vocalizations. Look, it's like I can see something right back there. Will you hold these for a second?
Yeah.
Look, I want to look through the viewfinder, see if I can see what's back on the other side of that. I see a dark spot. Huh. My gosh, this looks like a bedding spot. Something's been bedding down here. And whatever's been bedding down here drug in some pine boughs to lay on. All right, I'm gonna scour this for hair. Look at the protection it gives.
Oh, that's really nice.
Maybe that's what was making those wood knocks and vocalizations. And it's kind of a blind.
You're messing up my bed spot.
All right, we're gonna look for hair real quick and then we'll film some more. There's another knock. And again, probably like, get out of my bedding spot. You see any footprints? I see one right there.
Where? Oh.
I see an impression.
I think it's more of a...
Yeah, there's kind of an impression, but just nothing definitive, nothing that I could really throw a tape on and say this is where the depression starts and ends. But we're not sinking in very far either.
And then when we step off of it, it fills back in.
Yeah, it's like springy.
Springy.
Springs back up. All right, well, if a Bigfoot ain't using it, I'm pretty sure deer and elk like to lay here, get out of the wind and the rain. And it rained all night last night, at least at our camp. So, and our camp's only like 8 miles from here. So it probably rained all night here too, or snowed. Now we're on the opposite side of that little bedding spot we found, and look, you can't even see into it. Something could hide there all day. Ambush predator, or just wants to hide and sleep. And look, it's drug in all kinds of pine boughs and branches.
And it's right by a game trail, which is right here.
That's so awesome. You know, once again, it's really great to see that there's somebody out there that's doing that, because channels that even bother to document the local sightings and stuff, they usually don't bother to put 2 and 2 together and go, hey, there was another sighting in the same area 3 years before, and 2 years before that there was another one, and 2 of these sighting reports sound like they're describing the same Bigfoot. So for a data set for actual researchers, that's incredibly handy to have that connected and go, hey, it's not just this one sighting that happened last week. There's been sightings around this area, you know, I know of 5 in the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody have a great day, and you keep on watching. Kelly will keep on squatching.
Thanks for watching.
And I'm going to warn you that don't go slap any Bigfoot or anything. You could be asking for it. Have a great day. Bye, everybody.
Don't hug the